Ohio had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. On that farm he had some pigs. E-I-E-I-O. With a sheep here and a goat there. Eric from Ohio had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
Eric from Ohio had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
Eric from Ohio had a book.
E-I-E-I-O. And that book made no sense. E-I-E-I-O. So we fed it here, fed it there, pages flying everywhere.
Eric from Ohio had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Sometimes he shoots it straight.
E-I-E-I-O.
Sometimes he wipes his butt.
E-I-E-I-O. Pages spin and chaos reign. Sheep just stare like
Bro's insane.
the Quran is such a stupid book. E-I-E-I-O.
Every day the book gets zooted. Zoot, 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 zoot. Same way the book gets eaten. Zoot, 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 zoot. It gets zooted here, zooted there, zooted everywhere.
Everywhere. Eric from Ohio zooted that book.
Simple. This is just an open call in. Come, let's talk. I say Islam and Sharia are evil. It's really one in the same. Sharia is a deep part of Islam, kind of ingrained within it. So I say it is absolutely evil. Come prove me wrong. If you can't, well, I guess you just proved me right in many regards. We have an open call in link, and I'm going to make this open to anyone who desires to join. So I'll give some real quick statements about Sharia itself that I find to be a bit of an issue, right? Bit of an issue. Hey, welcome. Howdy, all. Welcome to the stream. Come on in. Let's get this party started. Hey, it's good to see you all. Amen, amen, amen. Let me pull that one on up. There we go. Fantastic. I'm sure to hit the like button and do all the fun stuff that YouTube likes, because that's what YouTube likes. And we got to keep them happy, so they send us everywhere. And then Muslims actually hear the truth of what's going on. I mean, definitely when it comes to this topic, because I've heard it said by many people, even some politicians, that Sharia really isn't a big deal. I mean, one politician in particular called it just a dietary restriction. It's just a dietary restriction. I believe you. No. Mostly because I can read it myself, and we come up with a bit of a different case. Now, there are many, many things that I say are incorrect about Sharia itself. There's a lot of things wrong with it. Many, many, many issues. But again, this is open to anyone who wants to join. Come up here and talk. Either you agree with me. In that case, we can just I can answer any of your questions that you have, at least as much as I know. And if you disagree with me, well, let's have a conversation. Here's your opportunity. You can call in, tell me I'm completely wrong. Sharia is not evil. Islam is not evil. And then you can make your case, which I would love to hear, because I look at history and it does not look like you're going to be able to make a very good case. So some of the quick points that I would say here topically. First of all, you can pray to Muhammad in Sharia. According to Sharia, you pray to Muhammad. In Islam, prayer is a point of worship, and you're worshiping Muhammad. I know many Muslims will say, well, you worship Jesus. What's your issue? Well, I would say that Jesus is God. In so doing, I am worshiping God. We both agree that Muhammad is a man. And he said to pray to him for intercession. So he is the intercessor in Islam with Allah if you do not feel that your prayers are being answered correctly. I mean, according to what I've read, that's kind of shirk. Just a little bit. Guys in the chat, what do you think? Is that kind of shirk? Am I off base on that? Is asking people to pray to you instead of God Almighty making yourself equal with God? Because I kind of would say yes. That would be my knee-jerk reaction, would be, yeah, definitely. So, on top of that, your value as an individual is different depending on your faith. So, where Christianity says that we are all created in the image of God, we all are image bearers of God Almighty. We all have that inalienable value, and we're all equal. Christians are not inherently more valuable because of their faith than non-believers. We believe that we're on the right path, that we are following Christ. But this does not give, definitely legally, our position of authority or of better power or our lives are of greater value. That's not a thing. And on top of that, you have a breakdown of men and women. A woman's life is not as valuable as a man's life. In Islam, a woman's life is half the value of a man's life. We can go through that later. So, real quick, it says, yes, it is shirk. Yes, it absolutely is to pray to Momo, to pray to Muhammad, to come in there and say, no, you know what? God's not listening to you. Go in and pray to me, and then I will get him to intercede for you. We believe that that's Jesus' position, that he's our intercessor. Absolutely, no problem with that, because he is God Almighty himself. So yes. But for a man to do it, for solely a man to do it, that's a bit of an issue. Hey, my fairy tale life, welcome. Welcome. Does Islam have anything like the intercession of the saints? They say they don't. And I have my own theological issues with that. But they definitely do in practice. There's definitely, you can pray to Muhammad for intercession. It's very clear. You do not go to Allah, you go to Muhammad, and then he can intercede for you. And this is established in Sharia, and you can even do it long after Muhammad's death. So it is during his lifetime and during this. And in those prayers, you are directly addressing Muhammad. You're looking at him and talking to him directly, which, again, if you are praying, on your knees praying, you are praying to Muhammad and addressing him by name. I got a bit of an issue. A little bit of an issue with that. Definitely when you're saying, oh, we don't associate anyone with Allah. He's all by himself. Muhammad was definitely just not in it for his own grandizement. He was definitely not in there just to boost himself up. I got a bit of an issue because it definitely looked like he did. So, oh boy. Yep. Hey, welcome. Come on in. Make sure to like and share. I'm hoping to have a good discussion going on here at some point. But I can just talk about some issues that I have within Islam itself, within Sharia. Again, the concept is that Sharia is the law given through Muhammad as far as through his life and the Quran, and that this is universal for all mankind, that it applies to today because Islam is the message for all time. Muhammad is the perfect ideal example for all mankind according to Islam. So, yeah, this would be the logical conclusion from that. These are the rulings of the Muslim scholars on these individual applications of Muhammad's sayings. I think it's the best way of saying it. So, let's see here. Allah praise for Muhammad, not to Muhammad. Also, E-I-E-I-O. Yes, that was such a stupid debate. Muhammad hijab, really? Really? You only get people who are not paying attention to actually fall for that, or people who just want to hear the grandizement, just the, oh, I knew I was going to have to give you this lesson in Arabic today. I just give it to you right here for free. I knew I was going to give it in a bunch of arm gestures. Ever look like that? He looks like he's got some sort of Caesar issues. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, again, it would still be an issue if Allah prayed. And if you're paying attention, David's saying the same thing. So it's literally David says this, Muhammad hijab says the same thing, and then straw man's it. Perfect example of straw man. I'd recommend you watch that if you haven't seen it. That's a straw man case right there. That's pretty bad, pretty blatant. Why would Allah even need to pray to pray for Muhammad, being that Allah is God? Yeah, that's the logical issue, right? Because you have plenty of times that Muslims are praying, peace and blessings be upon you, Muhammad, and then you've got pastors that talk about it, about Allah doing that, and that's still an issue. But even then, Reliance of the Traveler and the Mutawatir Hadith are so much worse than that. It blows that completely out of the water, in my opinion, because this is just plain shirk. I've talked to quite a few Muslims. It is plain and obvious shirk. Of course, you got some Muslims who tried to break down shirk into multiple different categories, because after all, you can't just have an unforgivable sin that your prophet immediately does, because he can't even keep his own story straight. But no, that's way too much to ask. You said you enjoyed the exchange. I don't know if I enjoyed the exchange, man. That was annoying back and forth, in my opinion. But, yeah. Again, if your God is praying for someone, that doesn't make any sense logically. Because part of prayer is in that case, would be making a request. You're making a request that peace and blessings would be upon him. Well, who's handing out those peace and blessings? I don't have to ask myself if I'm going to hand something out that I personally own. If I'm the only one that can give them out, and if Allah is the only one that can give it out, then why on earth is he asking? Who is he asking? On top of that, why is he asking? Oh. Yep, well, unfortunately, we cannot expect anything more from Muhammad hijab. He is quickly falling apart, and he'll probably be a footnote here pretty soon in history. Right along his friend Ibn Fibbin. Because, holy cow, he screwed up this year. So, let's go ahead and get back to the topic. So, in Sharia, the value of a man and women are not the same. If I were to accidentally, hypothetically, if someone were to accidentally, a Muslim man were to accidentally kill another Muslim man, say just by a mistake, and he's found guilty of it, he is to either there's the retribution, which would be applied to him, or you would have to pay out for that person's life. So either depending on what it is, and there's a bunch of breakdowns of that, but let's just say straight up, okay, he did something that accidentally killed someone else. There's an amount they have to pay. That's different. If it's a woman, it's half of that. And then if it is Christian man that he just accidentally kills, well, there's no retribution because Muslims don't have to have retribution for killing a Christian or a Jew. They do have to pay out, but that's like a quarter. It's a smaller amount going down for a Christian man. And then, of course, the women are half of that. They'd have to pay down. And you got Zoroastrian, who is like 1/15 the value of a Muslim man. So 15 of them equal one Muslim man. 30 of the women equal one Muslim man. That's the value. So your value in law, based upon law, your view in law, your value of your life diminishes depending on your sex and are you Muslim? Are you Christian? Are you Jew? What are you? These values go down, and lo and behold, if you're an apostate, you're just straight up killed, and there's no repercussion for anyone for killing an apostate. After all, that is just killing someone who deserves to be killed, according to Islam. Not the best place to be. So you can find most of this on Reliance of the Traveler. We are primarily going to be sticking in section O, which is called justice. Okay. You think you're going to get some justice? Well, not so much. You will be sorely lacking in that regard, such as a demonic religion. Yes, so think about this. God creates man in his own image. Male and female, he created them. And Islam comes around and says, whoa. First of all, we're going to take those women. We're going to make them half the value of a man. And then depending on which faith you have, your life value goes down. So the value of your life is reduced depending on who it is. And that's just a payout. So a Muslim just has to pay out. So if he's got enough money, I mean, he can go around killing Christians. No issue. And granted, if he makes up a reason for killing the Christians and it's justified, because that's what it assumes. Any sort of indemnity is assuming that it was an unjustified killing. If it's a justified killing, such as any sort of hate crime or disrespecting the Muslim in any shape or form, okay, you're fine. They're fine. The Muslim can go free. And again, you only need the Muslim as a witness over the Christian because he does not have the same legal authority as the Muslim man does. So I'd say that is a huge issue that I have personally with it. Again, I think everyone is equal. I do not think that Christians are more valuable than Muslims are as far as they're just before the law. Human life is all equal. So, and it's very specific because it's very weird because it's actually, according to Sharia, it's related to camels. So a certain amount of camels, which some schools translate into gold, and then you can translate that into cash, but it fluctuates and it changes based upon market value. So some days you are more valuable than other days because gold prices just went up, so you got more value. It's also war for Islam. killing in the name of Muhammad. Yes. You can see that very clearly that, yes, it's in the name of Allah, but in the end, by all practicality, it is actually in the name of Allah. Absolutely. So we've got that, which is one of the sections there. We have got slavery, which is included within the Quran, within Sharia itself. Of course, coming from the Quran and Muhammad's life. After all, he was a slave trader who owned multiple slaves. If you look at provisions for the afterlife, you can count over 40 slaves at that given time. We know that he had even more than that according to the hadith, because there are ones there that aren't actually named that we know he had according to the hadith, if we take the hadith as legitimate. If the Muslims want to throw the hadith under the bus, well, that's their own issue. It's not my fault. Okay? It's not my fault if you guys decide you're just going to destroy your own religion. It's not my fault. Okay? It's not my fault also if you come up here to defend your religion and then you end up accidentally leaving it. That's not me. Okay? That's not my fault. That's because the religion is a bunch of garbage. Okay, and it's too easy to leave. After all, according to Sharia, there are multiple ways to leave Islam. One of my favorite parts is, of course, the clause that they put at the end of the long list of reasons you can leave Islam, as there are so many more. We don't know them all. May Allah protect us from them, basically. Yeah, I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but that's the basic message is we, as the Muslim scholars who are supposed to know all these things, don't actually know it, so we are just going to go with it. Yeah, that's not the best example there. We also have here, go ahead. Actually, I'll save that one for later. I'm saving that one for later. Slavery, because we're going to come back to that. The jizya, which is part of Islam as well. That one is the protection tax that Christians and Jews get the opportunity to pay, because after all, if you want to stay a Christian or Jew, you have to pay extra money every year in order just to stay alive. And that has historically been up to even 90% of their income taxed as this payment in jizya. That's a lot of money. That's a high percentage. I mean, 90%. And then you got your normal taxes. So it's not just like, oh, you're exempt from all the tax. No, you're not. You're not. You're not exempt. You still have to pay it. And man alive, it costs a pretty penny. So that being said, now there's options. What if you don't go ahead and do that? Why don't you go ahead and just say, I'm not going to pay the jizya? Well, that doesn't work out so well for you. There are many laws on top of that we'll get back to later, but basically you're sold into slavery. You're taken basically as a prisoner of war. Now, if you're a man, a Christian man who's taken as a prisoner of war, you aren't necessarily immediately a slave. The religious leader, in the case here, it's supposed to be the caliph, but I know that other religious leaders will take this role on instead when there is not a caliph, gets to decide what's going to happen to you, including death or multiple different types of enslavement, maybe ransom. You could, in theory, just be set free, but that's very unlikely. So what happens to you? Good chance you end up enslaved if you violate this. Either way, you're not staying where you're staying. You're not living in your family's relative place. Now, if you convert to Islam after that, then you just can't be killed. You're still sold either in slavery or something else, or ransomed or whatever. But you're not. You just can't be executed immediately. But the execution is on the platter if you don't convert to Islam and you do not pay the jizya. The death penalty could definitely be a thing. your sons, daughters, and wife are immediately sold into slavery, because by the very fact of their capture, they become slaves. So they're immediately sold into slaves and then taken there. Zakat. No, the zakat's not the same thing. Zakat's the payment that the Muslims make to their imams or their religious leaders. It's not required for non-Muslims to do, but that's set to a very strict amount. The jizya is not set, and we know definitely in like Andalus, which was Muslim Spain, it was up to 90% there that they had to pay. Oh, so it's not the same thing. It's different. And zakat would be, again, something that they would also end up benefiting from in the long term, because you're giving to ministry, and then you get to have eternal rewards in heaven and get that as a good point on you. Jizya is not something that gives you any sort of eternal benefit according to Islam for the Christians and Jews to do. And even then, jizya at the end, when Isa is supposed to come back, he's supposed to break the jizya. So he's supposed to destroy jizya, that whole practice, gone. Tithes, no, not the same as tithing. And even the Christian concept of tithing is one out of own personal generosity. Yes, there's amount that you're recommended to give, but it's not like you're going to hell if you don't tithe. It's not good practice, but you don't go to hell. Yes, jizya only protects against other Muslims because they don't want to kill off their own money base because you're a dhimmi. So they don't, it doesn't apply to Muslims themselves, only to the only to Christians and Jews, because they're the ones that were given the scripture, so they get the opportunity to pay jizya. So thank you, Jack Ray, for the 5 gifted Your Brother in Christ memberships. Thank you very much for contributing to the growth of this channel as I enjoy my coffee. And wait for any callers in if they want. If not, I'm just going to talk about some points on Sharia. I'll probably make smaller, shorter videos covering each of these topics in the future and going through the references themselves. So that would be the penalty for not paying jizya, is you are enslaved if you're a woman or children. And if you're a man, then maybe executed. So it's up to the religious leaders to decide what they want to do with you. Troublemaker. But that's if they violated it at all. So even if you pay the jizya, though, it doesn't mean you get away absolutely free and you can do whatever you want. You still have extreme limitations on your faith, on what you practice. For example, there are many stages that you have to submit to, because it is part of Quran 929 is the subjugation section. So they pay the jizya, but then they have to be subdued. So you have to subdue them in some regard. In Sharia, it's very clear. They are going to be penalized if they commit adultery or theft, just the same as Islam. I actually don't mind that. It kind of makes sense. But when it comes, you have to wear a certain dress. You cannot dress the same as a Muslim. It has to be very clear that you're not a Muslim. So you have to wear a special article of clothing. It's a cloth belt in order to segregate yourself from the Muslims, because you are a lesser person. You have a lesser value. You are not the same as Muslims according to Sharia. So that you must give way to anyone. So you must keep on the side of the street. Whenever a Muslim goes by, you must get out of their way, go off onto the side, and then, you may not build buildings higher than the Muslims' buildings, because for some reasons, Muslims are extremely prideful about building tall buildings, if you haven't noticed, with a little bit of their prophecy. So you cannot build taller buildings than Muslims. And oh, yes, you're forbidden to build new churches. And even in some applications of Sharia, definitely in Andalusia, we saw that Christians weren't even able to do repairs without the strict approval of the Muslim leaders. So we've got that. There's also some things that will immediately violate the agreement. Some of these don't seem like very big ones, but then you immediately fall into this. So, for example, killing a Muslim. Okay. Seems like, oh, okay, so if you murder, no, killing. Different than murder. You accidentally kill a Muslim, that qualifies. You kill someone in self-defense, that would qualify as violating this. So those would be violations underneath this section here. And of course, anything that would be considered blasphemous against Allah or his prophet immediately violates it, or against Islam itself immediately violates it. And the repercussions we stated beforehand, either enslavement, death, or ransom for for men, for women, immediately into slavery. Yes, Islam and Sharia are evil. Not Muslims necessarily, but what is taught. I don't think Sharia is better than Islam necessarily, because again, it is a repercussion of it. It's what comes out of Islam, and it is still just as much garbage as the Quran itself. So we've also got, so there's a long list. Let's go through a couple of the other violations you could. Committing adultery with a Muslim woman. So on top of committing adultery, the punishment for that, you would also have this additional one that would violate it. Again, absolutely wrong. Yes, Ohio. Well, that would be there. Ohio would be Ohio. What's the chains of narration there? And need more proof. Chains narration for what? You gotta get more context. For Ohio, there is no need for chains of narration for Ohio. I don't think you understand change of narration. Unless it was just a joke, which it definitely could be a joke. I hate the chains of narration, man. Change of narration is just garbage. Don't get me started on it. That was so bad. As a farm, EIO, absolutely, as we saw at the beginning of this live stream and probably at the end. Yep, it was a joke. I figured it was coming from you. So, okay. So we've got that. Another one is concealing spies of hostile forces, leading a Muslim away from Islam. So doing what I do, that's violation. I should either be executed, enslaved, or ransomed under Sharia, because I make Muslims doubt, because I have common sense. And of course, kills a Muslim, which we already mentioned, as well as marrying a Muslim woman. So if you marry a Muslim woman, it also violates it. So if a Christian marries a Muslim woman, if a Muslim man marries a Christian woman, no issue. Absolutely accepted, according to Sharia. If a Christian man goes and marries a Muslim woman, it's the same level as committing adultery with her. That's how it's treated. It's under the same classification. I have a bit of an issue with that. It just does not seem right. You know what? I had a bunch of Muslims on X, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 of them that were saying, "Oh, why don't you do a debate me? Debate me. Do a call in. Do an open call in. Why don't you call in and we can debate you?" Well, here you go. Here's your opportunity. Where are you at? We have a topic here. I'm pretty sure a good portion of Muslims would say that I'm wrong. Where are you at, guys? We're half an hour into this. I think I got a couple more topics, and then we could call it. If you don't show up, then all I get to do is just talk about Islam. Just talk about how in Sharia you get to pray to Muhammad, how in Sharia human life is not the same value as each other. Eric, you're all talk, no action. Oh, there, no talk. Oh, I thought you said I was no talk, no action. I thought that was hilarious for a second. Okay. Yeah, no talk, no action. Yeah, I know. But hey, they can't now complain that I didn't give them opportunity. I did want to make this a point because I've been going through Reliance of the Traveler, and I've been wanting to highlight this more and more because, again, Sharia is coming up over and over and over again. I'm seeing politically it's coming up. I'm seeing socially that's coming up. Okay, well, let's deal with this, right? To actually look at the facts here. And I did find it interesting that there are basically 3 levels of possible punishment for murder, depending on what type of murder it is, where you have retribution, which is basically an eye for an eye. You have, of course, just paying out the family if they agree to it, or if that's the only repercussion that's needed, because sometimes you don't get the option of having retribution. And then, of course, you have between you and God are supposed to deal with it. So there's supposed to be special things that, oh, well, Muslims supposed to go and do some nice things. Welcome. Well, I'm glad. Congratulations. You were a Muslim. Now you're a Christian. Okay. Cool. Congratulations. Welcome to the faith. Press into the Lord. Pray. Get yourself a good church. And walk the good path. It's always good to hear those stories because I don't get to hear them very much. I just get to, well, talk to a camera in a room, which seems to happen a lot. But I enjoy it because you guys keep coming along and joining me for some weird reason. You guys just seem to like to join me on this path. And I greatly appreciate it because if not, it'd be very lonely in here. So, okay. So that you have unequal treatment, you have slavery that is very clear within Sharia. It is deeply ingrained within Islam itself. Anyone who says that Islam does not promote slavery needs to have their eyes examined. You were baptized on December 3rd. Great. Fantastic. Congratulations, man. Welcome. Cool. Cool to hear your story. Cool to see your testimony. I mean, that is in the Bible, that's one of the greatest weapons against our true enemy. Because the Muslims aren't our true enemy. It is the principalities behind Islam that is our true enemy. The same principalities that is behind atheism, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, all of these false religions. The same evils behind it. And our testimony is one of the most powerful things we are to overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. And not loving our lives until death. So I'm kind and enjoyable to watch. I'm kind? Well, most of the time, it counts on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to someone who actually wants to talk, I'll reflect the same stuff. But if I got a couple of bullheaded individuals, well, oh. So that, and I'm not even into the one of the worst parts, in my opinion. So, of course, you have slavery involved within Sharia itself. You have the ability to have intimacy with animals, with dead bodies, with relatives, close relatives, depending on if your right hand's possessed. So, if you have control over them, it can include basically anything, according to Sharia. Leaving Islam, of course, killing apostates. Again, that's such a contrary thing for Christians. Because, see, if someone leaves Christianity and turns their back on Christ, I want them to live as long as possible. Why? So they have as many opportunities as possible to come back to the faith, so they can enter into the kingdom of heaven with me. In Islam, we'll just kill them. There's not even a penalty for Christians or Jews killing an apostate, because it literally says in Reliance of the Traveler that is someone who is deserving of death. So there's no question about it. In Islam, you're allowed to kill the apostates. So Eric is kind. I'm part of the chain of narration. It's just because I'll have Muslims tell me that the chain of narration is more reliable than firsthand accounts. You need firsthand accounts for the chain of narration even to work. I digress. So, of course, you got the poll tax, which if you violate the poll tax, you do not get a fine. You're supposed to be immediately, if you're a woman or child, put into slavery. If you're a man, you get to be either put to death, turned into a slave, ransomed, or just randomly freed. I don't know why they would even put that in there, because that doesn't happen very often. Maybe there's a few exceptions, but it's supposed to be the caliph who does it. Now, one of the most horrendous things within Islam, within Sharia itself, which I find absolutely horrendous, is, of course, the exceptions for someone who is subject to retaliation. So these are the exceptions of people who do not have to have retaliation against them. So, I mean, a child or insane person. Okay, I could kind of understand that. See, every now and then, Sharia actually kind of makes sense, because it's not actually that incredibly stupid. It's incredibly stupid, but it's not always that incredibly stupid. So sometimes it kind of makes sense. Otherwise, it's absolute garbage. So, a Muslim for killing a non-Muslim. No retaliation required for that. Retaliation, again, would be the act equal. So, like, example, if a Muslim cuts off another Muslim's hand unjustly, okay, you get to cut off the Muslim gets his hand cut off. The one that has both hands, that did the cutting, is supposed to get their hand cut off. And there's a bunch of exceptions with that, and it's a bunch of legalese. I mean, seriously, reading through Reliance of Travel makes me feel like I'm studying for the bar exam. It is that dry. So, and then, of course, another exception is a Jew or Christian subject of the Islamic State for killing an apostate from Islam. So if a Jew or Christian kills an apostate from Islam, everything's fine, because after all, it is a person worthy of death without consequences. Clean slate. No questions asked. So, and then we get to where one of the worst ones, in my opinion. And this one, just like, if I knew nothing else about Islam, this right here, I'd look at this and say, nah, it's evil. It's pure evil right here with this one section. And it's got nothing to do about Christians. Nothing at all. Okay. Here's the exception. A father or mother or their father or mothers for killing their offspring or their offspring's offspring. So grandparents for killing their grandkids. Parents for killing their own kids. Absolutely fine. There is no retribution needed. It is absolutely justified. It is on the same level as killing an apostate. That right there, that point alone is enough for me to say, it's evil. That one point. I don't need to know anything else about Islam to know that it promotes this. Say, nope, it's evil. There's a lot of stuff on top of that. Don't get me wrong. There's a ton of stuff on top of that. But this right here is like, no, this is pretty bad. This one right here. Again, let me read this section again. This is 1.2. The following are not subject to retaliation. This is for murder. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth item on that list. Father or mother or their fathers or mothers for killing their offspring or their offspring's offspring. That's it. That's the exception. So, and there's no age given. None at all. So, by this law, my parents and my grandparents could still kill me, and under Sharia, perfectly fine. Perfectly acceptable. It's another day. This is why you see honor killings. This is why you see the ability of them just to kill their own family and say, nah, that's perfectly fine. There's no issue. No issue at all. So I'm going to post this link again for anyone to call in. The chat is Sahih. 2 months of membership. Welcome. Thank you for being a member, my friend. This chat is Sahih. Yes. See, we got an awesome community. I mean, seriously, you guys are awesome. So, Muslims, I know that some of you will probably watch this afterwards because for some reason you guys decided not to want to get up here and talk to me about why fathers and mothers and their fathers and mothers should be able to kill their offspring and their offspring's offspring. I mean, seriously, this gives full legitimate authority to the father to kill his own grandkid. And this is something that they claim Islam came and was like, oh, well, we stopped women if we stopped them from killing their own children. Look how just we are. Bit of an issue here. Bit of an issue, okay? Just a little bit. Your grandparents can kill you when you were a baby. Well, actually, technically speaking, there is no limit to this. Oh, and I see who joined. I see him down there. Yes, come on up, brother.
Hello,
Welcome.
hello.
Always good
How
to
you
see
doing?
Much better. Feeling much better. The camel urine that I drank must have worked.
It works.
I feel so much better.
All right, good, good. Just don't drink too much of it.
Oh, you mean it might not work if I drink too much of it?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It gets
I'll have to
some
figure that out.
gets a reverse effect, I guess. Let's say
Yes, our brother Yusuf has joined. Welcome. So what is your opinion? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've got a feeling for what it is, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
yes, Sharia doesn't work in Muslim countries, let alone countries that have non-Muslims. because of what you mentioned. For example, if a Muslim kills non-Muslim, or if a non-Muslim kills a Muslim, or if a non-Muslim kills a non-Muslim, it's like a because they have too many rules, and it only works in favor to the Muslim. Like the book that you mentioned earlier, the Reliance of the Traveler. What's scary really is the things. For example, they say, I mean, now that I'm looking at, like, let's say 912, right? I'm just
9/12.
random. Yeah, 912. It's just a random thing that I just looked at it right now. It has like a kind of like a 3 lines of Arabic, 3 lines of English. That's kind of similar, right? I mean, you don't need to learn both languages to figure out it might be equivalent to what it says in Arabic. But you look at something that has, for example, in Arabic it has like a whole page, and then in English it has only 2 lines. Then you know there are a lot missing in the translation.
There's a lot they're censoring.
Right. Now you have things that are written in the Arabic, but it doesn't say anything in the English. Those are the scary. Those are the scary.
Oh no, those are the fun ones. That one, I think, is 012.4. Yeah, 012.4 talks about intimacy with animals, dead bodies,
Yes.
corpses.
Yeah, that one wasn't even translated at all.
No. No, I had to
So-
go check and with a
Right.
couple of different translations, because I was like, man, this can't be right. Google can't be getting this one right. And it's like, man, Google's actually pretty close on this. Oh man, this is horrible.
Right. And for someone who doesn't really care if it's there or not, might not really worries them. But for someone who's really reading to know, like you go like, why is it there in Arabic but it's skipped in English? How do I know what it says? Do I have to learn the language to know what it says? Do I have to go and ask a Muslim to, definitely they're going to lie to you about? They're not going to tell you what it says because it's embarrassing. So you end up going to Google. And even if you translate it in Google, the Muslim will say, "Oh no, Google translation is horrible," and they will make excuses not to tell you what it really says. But yes, it does not work for a country that, especially a Western country, like here in the U.S. Like, what do you mean if a Muslim kills a non-Muslim, that Muslim is not going to be killed for a non-Muslim, right? So for a, let's say it goes through, God forbids, and they do this epic city, right?
Yes.
Where they're going to have a Sharia court, which, by the way, is very, very, very illegal in America, because there's a constitution.
Absolutely.
So you have a court with you have a foreigner court within the U.S. That's a no. You cannot do that, right? But they're fighting to have something like this in America. Now, what if someone who is non-Muslim goes to Epic City to get a falafel sandwich, and he gets killed for some reason? According to that court, Sharia court, he's not going to be killed for that non-Muslim. What if a non-Muslim drives an Epic City, and a Muslim lady is crossing the street, and then a non-Muslim hits that lady and she dies, then her husband will have to kill the wife of this killer. That's what Sharia says.
What? Yes. So if he's going through, then yes, it would be retribution would be the follow-up of it. Or he can pay out for a life, with, again, Muslim lives are more valuable than any Christian life.
Right.
Just by the amount of payout that's required.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, people here will have to read a book like The Reliance of the Traveler, because this is what they don't really need this. They just need the Quran. But
Yep.
it's always better to read a little bit more, because this is more detailed. The Quran has no details. This is more detailed. It has things that are not in the Quran. Yes, people in Western countries, please wake up, read stuff like this to know what you're dealing with, to know how to deal with this cancer called Islam.
Absolutely. And again, this is being pushed more and more recently. I keep seeing it come up again and again, saying, "Oh, it's not any big deal. It's just for the Muslims. It's just a dietary restriction," or, "Oh, it's just for the Muslims alone. It's not for the non-Muslims." Not according to it. It's very, very clear that this definitely has rulings affecting non-Muslims. And again, if they're the only ones that are enforcing the law in the area and it's a Sharia court, they can cover up. Like, there you go, a Muslim for killing a non-Muslim, right there, first line. Point 2, right there. Or, like was talking about earlier, here's a section on killing of parents killing their offspring or their offspring's offspring. Pretty horrendous. I can't get around that. This is barbaric. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it in my mind. And again, it's not just that, oh, the non-Muslims are complaining about it. I'm complaining about it for the Muslim side too, because they're the ones suffering just as much as the non-Muslims are underneath this. Because yes, it highly favors the Muslims, but at the same point, I mean, like, again, the Muslim women are half the value, literally half the value of a Muslim man.
Right.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one.
And this whole page that you're looking at, it has nothing to do with dietary. It has nothing to do with food.
No, this is under justice. This is the exceptions. The following are not subject to retaliation. Yeah, this has got nothing to do with what you can and can't eat. Again, this directly affects a non-Muslim in it. Yeah, there's just so much from it. Of course, any apostate, immediately death sentence, no questions. So, I mean, there will be no-go zones if these sort of cities are established with Sharia. There will be no-go zones for many ex-Muslims will not be allowed to go there because they will be subject to the death penalty immediately.
I talked to a lady at my church, and she's a teacher, and she has some students from overseas, and she has students, 2 girls from Saudi Arabia, and she was planning to visit them. So she goes, "Yeah, well, maybe you can go with us, and you being a local from Saudi Arabia, maybe you can show us more in Saudi." Well, you know what? She said she wasn't feeling safe. You know that you're safer than me. You should feel safer than me there.
Yeah. As long as you pay, well, she's not a resident, so she won't be subject to a lot of these, but she'd still be subject to, like, if there's any sort of offense that they feel that she did, any sort of offensive thing she said about Islam or Muhammad or anything like that, again, that's death penalty.
Right.
Quick and easy. Or enslavement, depending on which one you're at. So I guess that is all I got for today. Muslims, you had your opportunity to call in to discuss this. Yusuf, do you want to add anything else?
No, actually, I saw no customers coming in, so I thought, hey, maybe. I mean, I just came from work, so I thought maybe, hey, I'll just say hi. You know, like no one's calling. I'll come
Well,
and
I
say hi.
appreciate you coming in.
I haven't
Okay,
talked to you for a while, so I thought maybe you know, just to just come and talk to you for a little bit. I appreciate
I
what you
always
do.
appreciate it.
Mm.
So just to let you guys know, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be on day 44 of continuous content on this channel. Tomorrow's live stream, we're going to go through one of the, I'd say, craziest debates I've seen recently. Of course, Junior is involved. So we'll definitely be taking a look at that. Holy cow, it goes off the rail. I feel bad for James from Modern Day Debate, who has to somehow try to keep this civil. And he does a great job. But, man, sometimes the cards are stacked against you. So thank you guys for calling in. And as always, Deus Vult.